We're finally here. Welcome back to the Hoop Call, the UK voice, all things NBA. Ready to go. Episode 26. Let's rock and roller. Bang. My goodness. The playoffs. There's nothing like it in sport, I've got to say. Obviously, we've got the Euros going on, enjoying that immensely. Lots of great things, but there's something about these playoffs. Been mental this year. We've got a lot to discuss, to be honest. A lot of emotional heartbreak. I see what Tobes is wearing. He's wearing that Bucks jersey, and I know why. We'll talk about that. Ollie is reffing his team as well, and obviously my team is home. Is what it is, right? Who's in the building? Let me turn the music down slightly. Tobes, is it a classic?
Come on, England!
Yeah, it's a
classic, man. It's a classic.
There we go.
That aside, yeah.
That is true. England did bits. Ollie, say what's up.
What's good? Sorry about the technical issues last week when my laptop died.
He has his charger this
fully charged now.
He's on smoke. Right, okay. It's at the Hoop Call on socials. It's the Hoop Call on YouTube and the number 07379 481 528. Just in time for us to jump straight into it. My goodness. Absolute devastation yesterday. Absolute devastation. I'm sure you guys would completely agree. Let's head east. Giannis went down. The injury doesn't look good. I'm going to say it straight up. It did not look nice at all. Hyperextended that left knee in the third quarter against the Atlanta Hawks. I will come back to that injury. We're waiting on an update from the organization. But there are early whispers of an ACL. I'm hoping not, but it didn't look nice. It's not the normal mechanism for an ACL, but we'll see. You know, the Docking Arena's got you. But let's talk about the Bucks. They're irritating me. I thought the Flippers were a back and forth organization, but these Bucks are becoming ridiculous. Ollie or Tobes, who wants to go first? Please describe these Milwaukee Bucks to me in 3 words. For the listeners that aren't 100% sure what I'm talking about, the Milwaukee Bucks were blown out yesterday by the Atlanta Hawks, 110 to a measly 88. They've leveled the series. It's Atlanta Hawks 2, Milwaukee Bucks 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. A place in the NBA Finals is on the line. And yeah, they got banged out. This is ridiculous. So since we last spoke, the Bucks lost the first game. Then they won the next 2 and dominated it. Won in dominant fashion. That's the thing. People thinking, oh, okay, the Bucks are rolling. People were comparing them, high-level pundits were comparing them to the 2000 Lakers, Shaq and Kobe, Middleton, Giannis. And they go and do this. And it's been this way all postseason, and this is synonymous with the Coach Bud era. I've run out of words. Who's got first? Oh, Tobes is in. Go. The Bucks in 3 words.
If I was Kendrick Perkins, it'd be burnt barbecue chicken. because they're burning and they're just tasteless. But I ain't Kendrick Perkins. So 3 words that came to my mind. Number 1, painful.
Correct.
Painful. Number 2, complacent.
Oh, complacent, yeah?
Yeah. Number 3, tiring.
Tiring or tired?
Yeah. Tiring. They're not tired yet, but they are tiring. They're my 3 words. You can tell I was in a certain kind of way when I tackled this question, but I mean, I've only got a Giannis jersey. I'm not actually a Bucks fan, but if I'm a Bucks fan, bro, it's just like, what's wrong with this team?
Yeah, you adopted them.
I've adopted for this playoff. I've adopted them. So they are. I don't know. It's kind of like once they made it to this stage, you were like, this is like theirs to lose, right? This is everyone was saying, and they're making it hard for themselves. Obviously, Giannis is a big hit. The whole offense runs around him. He's kind of also their get out of jail free card.
They were losing with Giannis in the game. That's what annoys me about it. They were losing in the game and looked pathetic. And
that's the worst thing again. I mean, we'll come on to like probably what they have to do to bounce back and stuff, but painful because there's I think there's so many little things they're not doing that sometimes they don't try hard. You know, you can't really teach hustle. You're in the bloody Eastern Conference Finals, man. Just work hard every possession.
What else would it take you to be motivated for a basketball game? I don't know what more you want. All you got to do in this postseason is be the last people standing. That's it.
Basically, the next one is they were complacent. I think complacent because I feel like they probably came in expecting to just, you know, now that they found the rhythm, now they were winning, to keep going. But whereas our favorite on this call, Middleton, had a mad game in the third, he was nowhere to be found now, and it's tiring because obviously there's back and forth momentum shifts. But when I looked at if you look, what's worrying for Bucks fans everywhere is the Hawks' depth. If we're talking about starless teams, the Hawks' depth, offensive power is so leaps and bounds ahead of the Bucks. Cam Reddish, who's not really done anything, scored 12 points. Herter scored for 13. Lou Will 21. Bogdan 20. Capella 15. Even Gallinari 10. So you've got like 6 players there scoring in double figures.
Shooters.
I didn't even mention John Collins, who had a horrible game. So if I'm the Hawks, I'm thinking, yeah, we're doing well. And that's why all 3 of those words came to me when you were asking. That and Kendrick Perkins in my head, saying burn barbecue chicken.
Yeah. Mate, I'm with you 100%. None of the words were positive. They don't deserve that. Even when they're playing well, you just don't know how long it's going to last. It's really frustrating. Ollie, your ex-boy, 6-man like Lou Will, he comes in, shoots 75% from the field. What was it, 21 and 8, and just marshaled the game. What happened to Drew Holiday? You know, this elite, the best on-ball defender in the Get out of here with all that. Get out of here with all that. Listen, I've seen this guy roasted too many times in the postseason now. And the Bucks in general, I'm very frustrated with them at this moment in time. Give me 3 words to describe the Bucks and why.
Well, as I said, I've sort of put mine together. It's a non-existent offense from the Bucks.
Ooh, harsh.
And I think a lot of that's had to go down to Budenholzer as well. I just, you know, without Giannis, there's no sort of shot creation they have. Drew Holiday's not really a true point guard. I know he plays a 2, but you got no one else because they sort of fill that spot. And they're only really sort of playing a 6, maybe a 7-man rotation. They can't play Bryn Forbes because he's a liability on defense. Brook Lopez can't really get into he was Splash Mountain last year, but I think he's kind of getting bullied by Capella.
He's Bobby now, isn't he?
Yeah. Pat Connaughton, he's sort of maybe someone that you would have been able to rely on, but not really getting anything out of him at the moment. So, and also they're missing DiVincenzo, which is normally someone who can be relied on. But yeah, Chris Middleton, he's been far too streaky this series. I think he's only shooting about 20% or 22% from the 3 as well. So I think they're missing a lot of they've missed a lot of their identity from the regular season, which at the end of the day that does fall down onto the coach's shoulders. But yeah, I think as Toby already sort of touched on, the Hawks, you know, they have a lot more in their arsenal. I think they've got about 6 or 7 guys that are averaging double digits during the series, and they've got guys who are coming back. Cam Reddish, who's a big guy who they have missed. Lou Will. I think Draymond Green came out and said that, you know, Bucks, they should still be worried if Trae Young isn't playing, because Lou Will. He has been very streaky in playoffs, just in general, not just this season, but with the Clippers as well. But he's someone, he's a heat check guy. He can drop 20, 25 points in the span of 20 minutes, sort of thing. So yeah, I just don't. Without Giannis, which I hope it isn't an ACL, that's going to keep him out until probably this time next year, because that's a two-time MVP. It would be a real shame. But I don't actually see, because it's more than likely, if it is only a hyperextended knee, that Trae will be back at some point this series, which I don't really see without Giannis. But what Bucks really have to offer, Middleton will have to go off for 30 plus per game, and I don't really see that. He will have a game where you have a streaky shooting.
Right. Here's an interesting stat for you. When Chris Middleton shoots 40% from the field and above, the Bucks are undefeated in the playoffs. 40%. That's all you got. You have the PER Prince. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo. You got the Yoruba Freak, the second coming of Shaq. You just just shoot 40% of your shots in, and you've won all those games. And he's not been able to do it. I think he shot 35% again from the field yesterday. My 3 words are devoid of personality. Now, you guys have, lovely missuses, and you ever been to a restaurant, yeah? And you go to a restaurant and it's all nice, everything nice, there's nothing you can say, you've gone on Top Table or Resi or whatever, the reviews are good, but you go in there and I think it's just a bit too posh, a bit too clean, yeah? You then look at the menu and it's like, vine-grown tomatoes with this and coriander and da-da-da and this, that, and the other. You're like, oh, that sounds peng. You order it, first bite, you're like, hold on, this is just a spag bowl. This is just a spag bowl. Hold on, I've had this before. It's just in a different language. That's how I feel about the Bucks. They lack a certain sauce. They lack a certain something. Even when they beat, when they beat the Nets, they should, they beat the Nets Game 7 on the road. That should have felt like something. That should have meant something, but it just didn't. And it wasn't covered as if it was a big thing, and none of us really felt, oh, that was the coming out party for the Bucks, because it wasn't. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton were shooting awful until late in the game. They sort of were dragged by Giannis, and the fact that without Trae Young, ATL was still able to do what they do, drop 110 points and finish off those Bucks. Yet without Giannis, the Bucks basically didn't. They just didn't play, did they? They just didn't. Even with Giannis, but without Giannis, didn't play. I think it says a lot about the teams, a lot about the personality involved. Obviously, the coaching, which you guys mentioned earlier as well. And that's my worry. That's my worry. There's something missing about this Bucks team. Like, I personally think now they're going to lose in 7. But even if they win, they just... I don't know what it is. Do you think there'll be a coaching change? Unless they absolutely win everything, even if they lose in the final, you think there'll be a coaching change?
I think they need to sort of shift in a different direction.
Yeah.
As you sort of said, it's the same flavour every offseason. They've kept a lot of their core players as well. Middleton, Lopez. They shouldn't have let go of Brogdon. I think he would have been one of the pieces to be able to carry them this season. So, but yeah, there's got to be a change. I don't think Giannis would be too happy if they were to fail at this stage, because it is there to lose at the moment, I believe.
All right, okay. So, Tobes, firstly, shout out We Talk Football. Thanks for the comment. They think the Bucks are finished. Tobes, Trae Young out, Giannis out. Who wins? Who goes through in this series?
So logic states the Hawks. Therefore, I will keep with the Bucks, because if we've learned one thing this postseason, nothing makes sense.
Yeah, fact.
It's too simple, and we all can see the writing on the wall for the Hawks to go through, it would just be indicative of everything we've seen already. If somehow, as Ollie just hinted at, Middleton now goes and averages like 35-5 and drags his team to the finals. But on a real, it's an interesting question. The easy answer, yeah, is the Hawks. Hawks in 6 or 7, to be honest. But if I want to make it interesting and keep with my narrative of the Bucks, I then start to look at how do they try and deal with life without Giannis, you know? So he was averaging 26.5 points, 10 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.5 steal, and 1 block. Now that's a lot to divvy out amongst.
And the only one with actual personality.
Yeah, and the one and the get out of jail free card, you know, like you can literally just say, here's the ball, you're either going to get to the line and airball or at least make it, or you're going to do your spin pirouette dunk. Like you just know he's going to get you something always.
You've literally lost 30 points, 100% guaranteed on greater than 55% shooting. That is, you know, for all the things people hype on about, what Giannis can't do. You know, he's not got a 3, he's not got a J, this, that, and the other. He will be aggressive. He will get you 30 points. He will get you 10 rebounds, and he will do it on 55+% shooting. And his usage will probably be below 30%. That is irreplaceable.
With 1 block, paint intimidation, and a 1.5 steals. So his defensive impact as well is big. So how is that going to be divvied up? For me, on the rebounding and defensive side, it's weird to say, but Bobby Portis and Lopez are going to have to step up for me, rebounds wise and defensive. Bobby Portis isn't actually bad, gives okay minutes. He's just hit and miss. He's the kind of player, if he had a better coach, that's my dig at Bud again, I reckon you could utilize him better. Give Ty Lue Bobby Portis and watch what happens. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the points and assists, it's got to go only to Drew and Middleton. So I think Drew needs to step up his game from an assist perspective, try and facilitate, try and run. And to be fair, Middleton has had games where he does assist too. Like in the previous one, 38, 11, and 7. He was mainly offensive holding him. But I think he needs to just focus on getting that shot wet. And when I say wet, he needs to do it in his Chris Middleton way. I'm talking 50, 40, 90. Like, look good.
He needs to, it needs to be Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion. The shot needs to be wet. It's getting ridiculous now. This guy's been. If Lou will come out of nowhere, Lou will basically come out of semi-retirement and absolutely outplayed you.
Lou was the guy though. Him and Jamal Crawford can play to their 60. That's a starting backcourt for Timberwolves or someone dead. You know?
Remember Dragon Ball Z? Yeah, Lou will. You know when Goku comes back and he's still got the halo on. Lou will just come back and he's just doing his thing out. Chris Middleton can't let that happen. But a sidebar slightly, yeah. So in this series, we got who we got out. We got not Kawhi. Well, we have got Kawhi out, but Trae Young and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is it a fair take for me to say the NBA playoffs at this moment in time do not have a superstar within them? That's true, isn't it? That's actually true. They don't. The star
across both. You mean in both conference finals?
Yeah, left of the teams left. They don't. There's no superstar left playing.
Reggie Jackson.
Oh, we go. We got
no Paul George.
Paul
George. If a guy, let's say we knew someone who'd been in a coma for like 20 years, had woken up and was like, right, just watch the other day's game of the Clippers, he would have said that Paul George was the greatest player of all time. Okay,
what about the game before that?
Let's ignore that one. But
what about the game before that one?
Like Paul George been sorry, we'll touch on it a little bit later. But I've got my receipts.
Okay, Tobes or We Talk Football. We could decide. Paul George, superstar, not superstar. I just want to make sure my take is legitimate.
I lose track of what the hell is superstar. Well, you need to do one of your house analogies. No sitting on the fence.
There's no champion left.
No. How? Remember when you did that house analogy with like what was it? I was
It
like, what is this? What even is a superstar? Because that's so subjective. Is that top 10 player?
You have to have it. There's a certain je ne sais quoi, and you can't. There's a certain je ne sais quoi.
What Booker was that? Would you not say Devin Booker?
Booker, he's not achieved. What's he achieved in his career?
For me, he's a star.
You got to achieve stuff in your career.
He ain't a superstar. All right.
Yeah,
So
I think he's getting to that stage.
There's no MVPs left. I don't think there's any first team All NBAs left. Was PG first team All NBA? Your second team?
No, third.
Third team All NBA. There's not any first. There's no.
I think Chris Paul was the highest All NBA team.
He was two.
Still in it, and he was second. Yeah.
There's no first team All NBA left. There's no MVP left.
Yeah.
No, they're out now. So if we assume, if we take that as, that's crazy. I've listed my top 5.
Paul George is not though. Just to come back to your, I didn't. So you don't. I
don't think you've achieved enough yet. Sorry, Ollie. Fuming. Okay, I've listed my top 5 most significant injuries this postseason, and I'm going to then pivot in and ask you a question. So at number 5, I have the board man who gets paid, Kawhi Leonard. At number 4,
5.
hold on. At number 4, I got Mike Conley for the Utah Jazz. Number 3, hold on. At 3, I have Kyrie Irving. At number 2, I now have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Considering he's not.
I know you're number 1.
At number 1, I have Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Now, the reason for that is the reason Kawhi is in 5th is simply because of this. It's because your team's still here, and your team is not. So I'm assessing the significance of the injuries. Like if he went down and you lost 4 straight, Kawhi would probably be number 1 or 2. The fact your team has been able to compensate this, that, and the other. It's not obviously the best players who've gone down. It's the injuries that seem most significant. So I had Kawhi in 5th. I had Conley in 4th. I think his absence was understated. Because he was a significant piece of that Utah team. And in the playoffs and stuff, you need someone else who can handle the ball, can make their own shot. And I think Donovan Mitchell, young guy, I think he did struggle when the rubber had to meet the road against your Clippers. And I think Conley's injury was significant because I think if he was there, they could have really pushed on from that 0-2 lead. That's what I think. If you think you'd still come back with Conley in the fully fit Conley in the lineup, fair enough. I got Kyrie, but I got him at 3, and I don't have Harden in there. The reason I don't have Harden in there because I wasn't sure whether what we were seeing was injury Harden or playoff Harden or a mixture of both in that game 7. He's 1-8 in his last. He's 1-7 in his last 8. In his last 8 elimination games, he's 1-7, and he's shooting about 24% from 3, which is kind of on track of what he did in that game 7. Which it's harsh to say. So Harden, I was like, well, you're there. If you're there, you're there. If you can play 53 minutes, whereas Kyrie, important guy, didn't put him in the top 2 because I felt that KD, and I've articulated this many times, I felt that KD should have been able to get 2 off the Bucks. Should have been able to. Giannis, because I think it's the first time that the best player left is not there. This is the biggest loss in the playoffs in terms of stature of player. And I have AD at 1 because I think that's one of the biggest sliding doors moments in the playoffs. I think if he was fit, they get past the Suns, and then all of a sudden we're thinking, oh, LeBron can get to 5 because LeBron, I think, could get out of this West. Whereas at the beginning I was thinking, nah, I don't think he would get out anyway. Whereas now I'm thinking the way things are working and the way the Nets are out in the East, I'd fancy LeBron against a hobbled Lakers. And then, I'd fancy LeBron against the hobbled Clippers in the conference final and the Hawks. So I think it's a big slide note. So that's my thoughts. I wanted to know your thoughts on that list and whether you think there's, I hate using the word asterisk, but an asterisk over this, this title.
think Ollie, or you
Hold on,
wanna...
the Sanchez just announced United. Thank you, Artis. Anyway, Ollie, go.
No, I actually do. I do agree with AD being at 1.
Oh, you agree with AD?
I do agree with that. Yes.
What about the rest? You didn't seem to agree with Kawhi, but I explained
No
this.
way. No way.
Go on.
I know you said it's more significance to the for how it's affected the team. Yes, we have had big moments from, we've had Terrence Mann, Morris, Reggie Jackson, but we're currently down 3-2 against the Suns. I believe we win in 5 with a full fit Kawhi against the Suns team, and that's a big shift in.
Yeah. I see your rationale as well.
I don't think. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, what do you think of the asterisks debate?
What against if the potential winner?
Whoever the winner is at this point,
yes,
with all the stars down, you think there's an asterisk?
I think this is probably say all the stars are out. Say the Clippers get through, Kawhi's out, the Suns get through, Trey's out, Giannis out. I think this is probably one of the worst teams to win a championship, probably in the last 15 years or so.
And it'll be one of the worst finals.
Yeah, no one wants to. If you said at the beginning of the season, it's going to be bloody Hawks against the Suns. So, say for an example, we'll laugh at you.
Well, especially
I still laugh at you now. But
especially if the Hawks star is out. If it's star versus star, it's a star-driven league. There's no superstars. Maybe you can become a superstar by winning. If it's like, Topes, what do you reckon? You seem to think differently.
On your list, your list is pretty good. It's good that you've put some respect on Conley, because it could have been a much different series if both him and thank you, Artis. I was coming to this point. If you're gonna start clapping, it's true. If you're gonna start clapping about this season, how can you not harp about the bubble?
What are you? Hold on, Toes. Whoa. Okay, wait. I'll stop you right there. I'll stop you right there. Hold on. So the Lakers, they spend the whole year putting in the work. They get to the bubble. All of a sudden, hold on. No, because you're saying there's an asterisk. I'm saying, hold on. So there was no home court advantage. You have no home court advantage whatsoever. Yeah. You're in asterisk. If you lose, but you won.
No, it goes both ways, Doc. It's an asterisk. The fact no one had home court means that is forever an asterisk win.
But right? the Lakers were the number 1 seed.
Because look at the Suns this year. You're telling me the Valley has not carried that team to where they are now?
Yes,
proper home court. Home court.
What I'm saying is the eventual winners were the number 1 seed anyway. It was a team. It was listen to what I'm saying.
But you're trying to formulate it. That's what you mean by asterisk.
I'm not trying to formulate it, but I'm trying to say, hold on. If anything, last year's thing was literally as even as you could get it. If you were to draw up a tournament, if you were to draw up a competition,
but there are no injuries last year.
No, listen to what I'm saying. If you were to draw up a competition and make it as fair as it could be, you would have it in neutral venues. You would have every team have to have the same amount of rest, the same amount of travel, have to use the same facilities, the same training facilities, the same courts. That is, if you had to write down how to make a tournament as fair as possible, so there's no
an asterisk
advantage of anything.
In the history of the NBA, that is an asterisk, because that's never. So that's what I mean. How could that not be an asterisk?
It's the hardest chip of all time.
We're not talking about that, though. We're not talking about that. We said, is it an asterisk or not? It's an asterisk. That's an asterisk to me.
An asterisk implies that it's somehow detracted. This should be elevated. It was the hardest.
Asterisk implies that you're calling out something that there's different about it.
Okay, fine.
That's an asterisk with a footnote.
Right, go on.
So that's an asterisk, and I was coming to that because for me, this has actually been a regular season. Yes, there's been byproducts of injuries which have been cottoned on from the quick turnaround. But as far as it goes, considering Corona and everything that happened with it, I think this has been quite a regular season. Yes, a lot of the big names have been hit, but when you look at the kind of injuries they've got, a lot of them have been semi-freak or like ones that can happen at any point at any time. There's not been one that actually like I know LeBron was kicking off about how the season we shouldn't have done it this way and that, but a lot of them have just been like weird ones, like even the most fresh ones. Giannis's one was an awkward one, wasn't it? It was just like he went up for the rebound, came down. Even the ref on Trae Young, that could happen anytime. Kawhi's anytime. It's like a lot of them for me are just, they're kind of basketball injuries. Yeah, it's hell of unfortunate. It's all happened to all of the big names at the same time. But sometimes that's sport. Sometimes when you get to the Champions League and you see Porto versus Monaco in the Champions League final, you don't then start and question everything. You just think, wow, that's the one season a surprise team won it.
So you don't think it would be an asterisk title type thing?
No. You'll just look back and say, wow, fair play to the Hawks or the Clippers or whoever who won it. They didn't do it without a superstar, but it came down to who had the depth and the stamina to make it. But I'm not going to detract from the title just because there's no superstars for me.
Well, okay. Well, I have a view on this, and it's not quite an asterisk. Yeah, I think I'll stop short of calling it an asterisk. But what I'd say is this: with each victory, yeah, I'm sure it happens in other sports. Obviously, follow Premier League, everyone it's the same, but particularly of the NBA, very star-driven, narrative-driven league. Yeah, with each victory, with each title, comes a storyline, comes a story. I don't know if you agree with me on that. Like, if you name a year, okay, so, let's go back. Last year, obviously the bubble, adversity through the bubble, LeBron's first with the Lakers, revenge season, however you want to say it, but there's a kind of a story with it. The year before that was the Raptors, but it was about KD's injury. Yeah. Year before that, it was like, how good can this Golden State Warriors team be? How good are they? The KD, this amazing team. Year before that was the great comeback, 2016. And so on and so forth. Yeah. So I feel that with every championship journey naturally comes a story. I think, unfortunately, in this case, the story that will come with this championship journey will be the plethora of injuries. I think the exception to that would be if Chris Paul wins it. I said this in the group earlier, because I think Chris Paul's had enough injuries of his own. I think in just terms of storyline anyway, I think his would be finally CP3 finally becoming that guy and being a champion. All other roads, I feel, for me, lead to the storyline being, it was an injury-plagued season. It was kind of a last man standing type victory. When you talk about it, when you talk about the season, you're not going to be, that 73-9 team, or that amazing Golden State team, or that's the year where LeBron came back, or that was a Shaq and Kobe, so and so. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, kind of, or you just like, just nonsense?
No, I do agree with you. There is some thought. There always seems to be. Well, I think it's more built up that there is this narrative behind, every title-winning team, because that's what makes basketball is the storylines. It's the heroes and the villains. If it's Golden State, Cleveland, LeBron, KD.
Stars versus the star. It's King Kong versus Godzilla. It's that type of thing.
Yeah, but then I think I do agree with you in the sense that. I agree with sort of both of you about this season, as in the sense of, yes, there has been a lot of injuries, but is that because of maybe the shorter schedule? And those injuries could have happened at any time. It is just very unfortunate it has happened to these stars. No one would have sort of blinked an eye if it was some of the role players, but again. It does. I do think no one really wants to watch the potential final that could be without these superstars. So I don't know. I do believe there is an asterisk behind this, but I think there's it's not really much we could have done or anyone could have done about it this season.
Tobes, you don't seem to disagree, but put it this way, yeah. So that technical difficulty. Tobes, put it this way, yeah. For none of these teams, nobody's going to be like, that great Hawks team, that great so and so team, that great so and so team. That's one thing we can probably agree on. That's not going to be the story. The teams are not going to be the story for any of these. Small chance of Phoenix.
I'm absolutely fine with that.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying it is. I'm not saying
I
whether
know,
you.
but as a US, what you guys are hungering for is you're looking for a narrative, and it's like Ollie said, it's because basketball and US sports are built that way. Let me
No,
put
I'm
it this
looking
way:
for
if this was
a
English, if this was English thing, FA Cup, you know, these dodgy teams that win, do we question it in the same light? We don't, because, and we won't say, oh, it's because their star player was broken. Like what? Even Euros right now, checking Denmark, you know what I mean? You kind of just embrace. For me, the storyline is what's in front of you. So watch when ESPN do some mad video now, they'll make it look sick, and they'll say, oh yeah, Trey Young overcome everything. He was the villain, and they'll be doing all these takes where he's bowing to the crowd and push up it, shushing. That'll be the story. For me, it's just sport. Yeah, no one was a favorite who's now still in it, but they're here, the other teams aren't. Simple as.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? Fair enough. You're right. I am hungry for a storyline. I'm hungry for superstars, man. It is what it is. Right. Okay, Ollie, I've had to make you wait for this one, but I want to talk about Clippers and Phoenix. Yes, people, the LA Clippers are still here. Tobes, flash question: who's better? Which would you take in a one and done game? The 72-9, was it 72-10 Bulls team, 96-97, or the 0-2 Clippers? These O2 Clippers.
Oh, you mean
Once they're two down, boy. Once they're two down, they go in legendary mode.
It's weird flex.
They're still in these playoffs, Ollie. Fair play. You're the mentally strongest team I've seen. What have you seen so far already from your team?
Well, I think one of the things that helps us when we are going down is we're one of the most sort of like veteran teams. You know, we're a lot older. I think against sort of like the Suns, they have Chris Paul, but apart from that, they haven't really got. I think they don't have anyone above, sort of like 20, 28, 29 sort of thing. So I think for the first two games, we completely changed from how we was playing against Utah. We played super small ball, and then for the first two games we was playing Zubac, and it's like a stat. Since Zubac has been in the playoffs, if he plays over, I think it's like 24 minutes, we've never won.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So and then we was playing. Cousins was playing big minutes. Terrence Mann again wasn't playing, but we've reverted back to small ball over the last couple of games. With Batum playing, I think Batum's averaging his plus minus is about. I think he's averaging about plus 20 in the last couple of games, and the fact that with Paul George has been minus one of the games where he didn't have to perform as well. He's been shooting the lights out. He was I think it was 15 for 20 the other day, but we need to carry on. Yeah, we need to carry on. What we don't win without someone else going off, and at the moment it's either been Reggie Jackson, who is at the moment the number one ISO scorer in the league in the playoffs, which is a stat. He's above Kyrie, he's above KD, James Harden, or Marcus Morris as well. So I think Marcus Morris he averaged about, I think it's like 21 or 22 the other day, and then before that it was like 7, 8. 9, and then he had the one game against the Jazz where he torched them for about 27. But yeah, we've got these. We've got to have these other players sort of coming in, and fortunate for us, Devin Booker is not really playing. He's probably playing about 60-70%.
Yeah, I was going to get to that actually, Ollie. Thanks for the analysis. What I will say is this about your Clippers: unbelievably mentally strong, unbelievably well coached. Now, what did you guys take on this? We said in the previous segment that there's no superstars left in these NBA playoffs. Obviously, we're questioning Paul George, but no previous MVPs, no current first team All NBA left in these playoffs. But it does add another storyline, another narrative. Do you think, and I'll throw this to you, Tobes, yeah? Do you think this is the year of the coach? Because all I've seen is great coaching decisions. Well, that's what I've seen the difference a lot of times.
I think, yeah, year of the coach is a good narrative, and I'd say year of the coach and year of the squad. So if it's the opposite of the superstar, it's literally how good is your 8th and 9th man? Yeah, that's right. We're going deep from the playoffs. Normally you're going running a 7-man rotation from like semi-finals to the actual NBA finals. But I'm telling you, like with the teams left, the coaches are pulling deep. So maybe the two kind of go hand in hand, because the good coaches are being able to play their 8th man and getting them to operate at like 100% efficiency. Whenever we ever really had a playoff where so many teams have had so many important pieces come on from so deep? We've got Reggie Jackson, who was, as an OKC fan, I know all about Reggie Jackson, was pretty much written off, and now he's had a great resurgence. You've got people like Campaign, who wasn't in the league, and now is a pivotal part of the Suns. It's one of the reasons actually why they're struggling.
A proper champion.
He's carrying an injury, and he's like the opposite of Chris Paul. He wants to play at pace. And I think they're missing that. They're missing that offensive burst and drive to the rim. Even people like Kevin Huerter in previous playoff runs gone by maybe would not get the same love that he's now. So coaching for sure. Ty Lue is doing his wizardry. Same for Nate McMillan. And I think hand in hand with that is they're getting the most out of their deep squads when the superstars aren't there. So yeah, it's been intriguing from that perspective.
Yeah, man, Ollie, you must be very happy with Ty Lue. The difference between him and Doc Rivers is night and day, isn't it?
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the season, they were saying Ty Lue's just a carbon copy of Doc Rivers, because obviously Ty Lue was assistant under Doc. But I think one of the differences is Ty Lue's got the best elimination record in the playoffs in NBA history. Doc Rivers has the worst elimination game in history.
It's little details, isn't it? It's little details.
And even as I said, we've had no quiet this whole series. And you look at the games that we've lost. First game we lost by 6. Second game we lost by 1, and that was by 2 Paul George free throws and an Ayton lob. We lost game 4 by 4 points, where we was only held to 80 points. And then in the games that we've won, we've sort of blown them out. So I it could have already been over if we was able to sort of take a hold of the game. But yeah, no, Ty Lue's been great. I think he's to be able to tweak his gameplay as the series goes on. And I think that's one of the reasons why it may take us a few games to get in. But once we find that rhythm, because at first DeAndre Ayton for the first couple of games was probably the player of the series. Booker hasn't. I know he had his broken nose and his masked Booker at the moment, but he hasn't been great. Chris Paul, since he's come back.
But this is what I'm saying. You got to give Ty Lue credit for that.
Massively.
He said, "Okay, Pat Bev, you're on. I don't want you to even look at the ball."
Pat Bev he's locked up Booker since he's been playing.
He doesn't look at the ball. Like he's just wherever Booker is.
Yeah, what Toby said, we've a lot of teams at the moment playing probably like a 7-man rotation. Other players getting if it's sort of like garbage minutes, but we have probably like a solid 10. There'll be times Kennard, Cousins get big minutes. Others it will be Zubac will be in and out of the squad. Batum, he only played a handful of minutes in the first game, but he played 30 minutes the other day. Obviously, the main one, Terrence Mann, is in and out, and who's been sort of a great pickup in a draft for us. But yeah, no, I don't think I think Ty Lue's he's got his flowers this season. I was critical of him when he was in Cleveland, because I think it's the offense. His board must have just been give ball to LeBron, but I think he has really showed himself this season.
No, he's done brilliantly, and I think he's just clearly a very good people person. He's a great motivator. It's annoying me because he's for the Clippers, so I'm so happy for him. But yeah, I think it's the year of the coach. He's not the only great coach there. Monty Williams can respond.
Amazing. Yeah,
he knows he needs one game. And one thing I was saying to Tobes earlier was that the Staples Center is not a fortress. It's not a fortress for you lot. And
Well,
if
that was a concern if we had the Lakers, where every game would have been a home game for the Lakers, pretty much. But I think there'll be a few more Clippers fans after next season.
Phoenix, on the other hand, yeah. You ever watched like the Olympics or an athletics meet, and you watch the 100 meters, and obviously as you start running, the camera on the top comes across, pans across, and obviously starts to change direction. So you're watching the beginning, and someone's just gone out of the thing, and you're like, oh right, this guy's going to win the race. This guy is doing a madness. He's come out of the blocks flying. But then as it gets 60, 70 meters, and it kind of the camera pans around, you realize actually the guy's fading. And then Usain's coming through, and that's what I feel like when I'm looking at the Suns. I look at the box scores, and I'm like, as you said, even when they win, it's by 1 point, it's by 2 points. These ugly games, it's unforced errors by the Clippers, and the way the Clippers were able to blow the game open was a little bit concerning for me as a Lakers fan. And looking at the box score as well, Ayton only 9 field goal attempts. Booker still not shooting efficiently. Rattled by his injury, rattled by Pat Bev. Chris Paul, listen, he's a great player. Let's not get that twisted. But he's not really a heat check guy. You can't really be like, okay, look, Devin's not playing well. CP3, come on, go and get 33 for us. So it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky for Phoenix. I don't want to be too negative about them because they can easily win tonight, I believe. And we won't be talking about any of this. Tobes, what do you reckon? Who's just quick predictions? Who's winning this series? I'm going to say straight off the bat, I got Clippers in 7.
Yeah. I had, before the series started, I had Clippers in 7.
Are you sticking to it?
So logic says I should go with the Suns, but now I'll stick with the instinct. I'll go with Clippers in 7. Honestly, I think the Suns have to win tonight. I think if this goes back to the Valley, the Clippers will be so geared up, like the Clippers we saw yesterday, but like at a higher level. Only person that would worry me is someone like Pat Beverly just get too hype, Cousins get too hype, and they get fouled out, technical or something. Yeah. I think that today is the big game, and I think Chris Paul, with his old man head and knowing where the precarious position they're in, I think he's going to say, "Look, guys, you need to play like this is your final today. You leave it all out today." Because honestly, if the Clippers win, and if they win like convincingly, like Ollie was just saying how they got a good plus minus differential on points and stuff. If they go and beat them by 10 plus, I think it will scramble those young boys' heads.
And you got to remember, Monty Williams hasn't been here. Ty Lue has. Monty Williams hasn't been in these moments. So even looking to your coach to just like kind of calm. It's a tough one. Ollie, Tobes has brought me on something. CP3, he's blown a 3-1 lead before. When he's had opportunities to take his teams to the next level, he hasn't done it. By next level, I mean over the hump. He hasn't done it with good opportunities, with good teammates, winning series, winning games. If he blows another 3-1 lead here, as much as we're saying if he wins a chip, his legacy, if he loses this, what's it for his legacy? Is there a wrap?
I think the Suns have done sort of miracles in comparison. Their roster hasn't changed massively. They brought in, they brought in Jay Crowder and Chris Paul. In comparison to what they were last season to what they are now, that should be sort of like an accomplishment in itself. He was in talks for MVP, all NBA. So, but I think in the long run, if he does lose out, it will be, Chris Paul was blown. Was it 2, maybe 3-1 leads now?
It's 2-3-1 leads, but also he was 3-2 up in a series.
Or how many
third quarter? He was 20. He was 20 odd points up against the Rockets, actually.
Because he was this is his third conference finals or second maybe. So
the second. It's his second.
The last one was with the Rockets when they
where
they should have won with Chris Paul. But yeah, we won't go to the Clippers one because that was just horrific. That was just the biggest meltdown in NBA history.
I like the way you said it. I like the way you answered the question. You are right. Like, this season is an accomplishment. To go from not in the playoffs to the conference finals, potentially a game 7, is an accomplishment. But
I just think that will be forgotten. That will be forgotten in a few years' time. People won't remember that. It'll just be, oh yeah, Chris Paul lost against a quireless Clippers
and 3-1 lead. Listen, this is the difference between CP0 and CMVP3. It's massive. It's absolutely massive for him.
I don't know how much, he keeps saying it every season, like how much gas has he got in the tank? He'll be 38 going into next season.
The Lakers are coming back next year. The Golden State Warriors are coming back next year.
Yeah. The Nets
obviously ain't going nowhere. The Nets are going to be back. The Nuggets are going to continue to try and improve. This is it. This is it for CP3. Tobes, do you agree?
Oh, I was just checking how old Chris Paul is. Yeah, he's 36 now. So, yeah, he's he's an old guy actually. Yeah. Sorry, what am I commenting on? His legacy.
I'm basically asking: do you think this is it? This is his chance. You think? More importantly, if he blows a 3-1 lead, is his legacy irreparably damaged? Because then it's
nah.
Because the thing is, I think it goes from saying, he wasn't in the right situations and he got injured, to being like, no, he didn't have the clutch gene.
Yeah.
At the moment, the narrative is kind of, he's been a bit unlucky.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, that changes. That changes for me because the other two were against. You take everything in sport relative. You always got to paint the picture. The others was against like the West was in a complete different state to what it is now. You were facing in his prime Steph and Clay and that Rockets team. Everyone was so gassed for them to try and make it. And his ankle blew and whatever. And the thing is, Chris Paul has this aura and rep in the league of being one of the fiercest competitors, absolutely obsessed with winning and everything. So it's like, it's a bit weird to have this case where he can't get over the proverbial hump. I was saying to you just before we started on the call, he's averaging 18 points, 9 assists, 3 rebounds. I want him to go off. He had one game early in the playoffs where he did go mad. When they
he did. I think his closeout game against Denver, he was just enjoying it.
And I want to see that. I want to see him hit 30. I want to hear him see 15 assists because, man, this is your time. And all the other superstars who have ever been in such a position, they do step up. They do seize the control. And maybe I want him to go stat stuff. Maybe he does it in true manner, the Chris Paul way. And he just is an extension of Monty on that floor and literally chess pieces his way. Like, he could still go and get 18 points, 10 assists, but he's boosting up DeAndre Ayton. The pick and rolls are just destroying Clippers over and over again. He's getting Booker the shots. He's encouraging him. He has to lead this team.
That general.
He has to get over. And if he doesn't, it's a big knock on his legacy. Because he says about the gas thing. I didn't even think he was that old now. I think he can play another 4 seasons at an elite level. I'm not even kidding. And so he could still get this ring, but like you say, there's not many scenarios left for him. Like no let's say in their prime title chasing team may get him. It's always going to be this probably weird youthful team on the cusp and he makes a break. That might be him, Phil. Over and over again, unless he does a banana boat team vet thing with LeBron. But I want it. I really, beside the Bucks, I would love, as we said the other day, I would love to see Chris Paul in the final. So let's see what he can do.
He needs to galvanize the troops. I know, obviously, Ollie, you're rooting for the Clippers, but I know as a kind of basketball purist, you get what we're saying, and I'm sure you got a lot of respect for Chris Paul.
Oh yeah, massively. Yeah, I'd rather. It would kill me to see him win it before the Clippers win it. But Yeah, is a good story, and I love Devin Booker as well. I think Chris Paul said he's basically way before he's how old he is and the head he's got on his shoulders. He's sort of like the leader of the Suns as well. But yeah, obviously I'd rather the Clippers get through. But yeah, I think this offseason has been great so far. All teams considering the amount of game 7, 6 game 6s, game 7s, it's been great.
Yeah, it's been stress. It's been stress. Every prediction wrong. Even the pundits.
It's been awful. I've been horrific this year.
Even the pundits are just they're just taking wild stabs in the dark now. Just making.
It's just like just think what's going to happen and just say the opposite.
That's what happens when I wake up in the morning. If I hadn't watched the game, I'm going on my NBA app. I was like, okay, who did I think was going to win? Okay, then the other team's going to win, and then.
So I think I said Bucks sweep against the Hawks.
Yeah,
it should be.
Yeah. No, it is what it is. It is what it is. Guys, so the elimination games tonight. We'll have to see how it goes. I can't, in all honesty, look you in the eye and say good luck, Ollie, but I wish you health and wealth and happiness in general. I will keep a close eye on the Giannis situation. A very close eye, and if it's a significant injury, you'll catch on Docking Arena channel, 100%.
What do you guys make of obviously coaching carousel's been at play? What do you guys make of the Chauncey Billups to Portland? Looking up with Dame.
A lot of buzz at the moment. Do you know the reason what? Because Dame's, but there's an insider for the Blazers who's quite close to Dame. So basically, what he says is pretty much gospel, and he was saying that he's pretty unhappy at the Blazers at the moment because obviously, the story about Chauncey Billups.
Yeah, and Dame's getting slack on Twitter for it.
He's getting slack, and but the thing is, like, even I was listening to the mismatch earlier. Chris Vernon, he was like, "Look, I've been a reporter for the basketball for 20 years. You knew what happened with like the Jason Kidd at was it the drink driving and the assault on his wife, which was a big thing. But the Chauncey Billups story, he was like, didn't hear about it until a couple of days ago. He was Cavs GM, Clippers assistant coach, and this is the first time it's sort of come out. So obviously Dame was dragged. It was like, oh, you should have known about this. You should have put your input. And he was like, I don't know. I didn't know. Yeah,
it's a ridiculous thing to put on a player. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm not going to comment on it too heavily, but I just think give Dame a break. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment on a story. I don't know the full details, but it's ridiculous to blame Dame for that.
I think even. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, Topes, from a basketball perspective, is he a rookie coach? Has he been a head coach somewhere before?
I think he's a rookie head coach. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm Dame Lillard, I'm like, man, come on, man. I ain't got time. I ain't got time for him to be learning lessons on the job.
Yeah, and that's what supplements what Ollie's saying. There is a lot of talk of now, which is weird because it is one of the people he wanted, and I felt for Becky Hammond. Like, well, I mean, what's really Billups got over Becky Hammond, who's been surrounded by success, arguably more, as a coach, which was a weird flex. So I thought, and obviously he wanted Kidd, but Kidd got shot down, like you said, for the assault, and they were like, don't do that. So it does all feel a bit weird. I think. Not Shams. Was it Shams or Woj? I saw it on Bleach the other day. Apparently, he hasn't said he wants to put in a request for the trade, but it's going to be one of the storylines to follow next year. Honestly, does he want to stay? And the moment he doesn't, the Knicks have already publicly declared that they are willing to sniff anything for Dame to get him and they'll trade everything basically. Just pair him with Julius Randle and see what happens because they're ready to go. I think other potential packages. I don't know. You never say never for the Lakers. Again, Dallas Mavericks.
Who are the Knicks gonna trade? They have to trade Spike Lee as well.
Oh, it's like every single pick they have for the next 10 years.
Anyone.
RJ Barrett,
in the rafters.
It's literally. They were like Dame Lillard and Randall. That's it. We'll run it. We'll run it.
We'll figure it out from there.
They just want a superstar, man. They've not had a superstar since Melo, and it's been like years, so they're ready to go. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting, and even obviously, Carlisle went to the Pacers, underrated move. But even I think Rick Carlisle would have even been someone who was a bit nicer.
I thought there was talks for. I think there was talks for. I thought it was more than like he was one of the front runners to get the job. But as you sort of touched on, it does seem odd, obviously, with sort of the background in mind and sort of how heightened, social media and everything is at the moment. There was a lot more better, well, not necessarily better, but more better front runners for the position. There's much more, the women in NBA now, more, there's more African American coaches that are being put in charge as well, which is great. But yeah, it does when you sort of look back at it. But at the same time, I said I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it was over 20 years ago, and this is the first time it has been up. Even considering he was as I sort of said, he was a GM, an assistant coach. He was a reporter as well for ESPN, I believe. So it does seem a bit odd.
It's very odd, very, very, very odd. The Dame situation. God, I'd love if he was on the trade block. I'd love if he was on the trade block. That's what we live for, man. Can't wait till trade block's back. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be good. I think there's a few good free agents. I believe this
Golden State are going fishing. That is what I'm hoping, and that's what I'm predicting. Okay, but listen. Okay, let's put a pin in that. Let's put a pin in that for the time being. Let's get through these playoffs, please. Let my heart get through this playoff in one piece. Been a pleasure, gents. We will hook up again next week. Ollie, health and happiness. Tobes, I'll let you know about Giannis. Other than that, Hoop Nation, salute. K. Wherever you are, salute. Peace out.
Come on, England.